Hey, welcome to another edition of Liberty Island Author Interviews. This is Adam Bellow, and I'm talking today to Roy Griffis, better known as Griff. And Griff has the distinction of being the first novelist to find us and to sign up with Liberty Island. He's also a prolific short story writer. I'm going to say a word about the story that you've written that we're going to publish in our inaugural release. It's a story called Shadows, and it's a military story. It's a very haunting story. I've read it a number of times, and I had to ask you, where'd you get the idea for this story?
Well, where I get many of my ideas, it was from a throwaway line in another work entirely. I was reading a magazine, a photography magazine, and they were talking about the history of aerial reconnaissance and the camouflage people would use to try to defeat that. And they happened to have just two lines mentioning sometimes this got reversed, like the Germans had a fake camp set up, and the British flew over and dropped wooden bombs on it. And something about that stuck with me, and that's where many of my stories come from. I'll read or hear something like that, and it just sort of snags in my brain, and I started asking questions like, why would somebody do that, or what would it feel like to be the guy on the ground, or the guy in the plane, and then just asking those questions open up a lot of things for me, and I go from there.
Now, the other novel is called The Big Bang, and it's Volume 1 of the Lonesome George Chronicles. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about that novel, because that's the novel that we've signed up and are planning to publish next year.
I call it a history of events that have not yet taken place. I imagined America, after Al Qaeda has had their way with us, with a wave of concentrated attacks, which attack our infrastructure and begin breaking down our society, our political system. It started first with a certain amount of disgust with the way not only the war and terror was being portrayed, but the way President G.W. Bush was being portrayed. But I also realized that if some of these people had had a different experience, some of the writers, or the pundits, whoever, they might see things differently. They might say that's a cat's tail, by the way. They might have more of a sympathy with our point of view about who the enemies are and what the problems actually are. And I just began imagining that, and it almost sort of like Shadows. It sort of began with a throwaway line, a throwaway thought about how lonesome George must be. It started there, and it took on a life of its own.
Well, it's a marvelous book, and it really was one of the first signs that we had that confirmed our intuition that there were dozens of, if not hundreds, of sort of right-leaning fiction authors out in the country, working away, being productive, producing really original, well-written, interesting works of fiction, and it was a tremendous vindication of that intuition on our part. But I just want to say to our readers or whoever may be watching this video, keep your eye out for more from Roy Griffis. He's one of our proudest discoveries, and somebody we think has a real future as a published author.
Gosh, thank you.